If you haven't ever tried this, I want you to try it. Starting now, starting today. This is like an amazing process to go through this. This is another part of the book that he talks about. It's called an appreciation room. And he says, this room is a place in our hearts. And he says, before we're married, we visit this room a lot. In here we write all the things that we love about our spouse, the kind things that they say, the wonderful things that they do, how they make us feel so special. He says in another part of our heart, there's another room, and it's called the depreciation room. I'm going to click that. He says it's not very far away. He says, but in this room, he says, unfortunately, after we get married, he says this is a room that we visit more often. In here, we write down all the horrible things our spouse says to us, all the mean things that they do, or how they make us feel. Divorces are plotted in this room. And from the moment we step into this room until the moment we step out of that room, the love that we have for our spouse depreciates. It's kind of like this. My daughter, I love this story, it will give you a good visual if you want a visual to have some more positive thoughts about your spouse or about anyone in your life. My daughter was an EMT at a Boy Scout camp this summer, and she had a boy came in one day and he says, I have like this rustling in my ear. I don't know if I slept under something. I think there's some dust in my ear. So she flushed it out, and this crawled out. Maybe not this exact one. I know when she told me this story, I says, I'm totally going to use this because people will relate to this. They'll go, oh my gosh, I can't even imagine having a spider living in my ear. And yet, so many times we let a negative thought into our heads, just like a spider, and we let it stay. And not only do we let it stay, we let it fester and we let it grow until it becomes so big that we can't even imagine how good somebody was without this. So, love knows about the depreciation room. Love knows about that, but it decides not to live there. So here we are. This is where you need to decide to live. So how do we combat that? I have an idea. If you're not sure, if this is a great way, if you have a relationship with somebody who you're struggling with, write down 3 things every single day, 3 things that you are grateful for in that person. If you want a better relationship with your spouse, with a child, with a coworker, write down 3 things that you are grateful for in that person. You may think, some days you may be just, okay, what are 3 things am I grateful for in this person? Find them. Pick 3 new things every day. This will actually train your brain to look for the good in another person. And it will allow you to stay in this room. I love this saying, sorry. Sanea Roman says, whatever you appreciate and give thanks for will increase in your life. Do you guys believe that that's true? Yeah. So if we give thanks for that person, then you're going to start appreciating them. You're actually going to, they may not change at all, but you're going to begin to change through that process. Isn't it true that if every single one of us were lined up in this room and who we were inside and out were laid on the table, each one of us would have good things about us and bad things about us. It is so true that each one of us has those in them. It is up to us to focus on the good. I like this picture. It's kind of like this. It's kind of like this, where we have a good and we have bad. And you know what? We choose to see what we see in other people as well. So you choose, if you want to see the bad in them, you will find it. If you choose to see the good in them, you will find that. Gratitude is the great multiplier. It means that if you have gratitude, that those things become bigger in your life. When you show gratitude for someone, then all of a sudden you start to love them more. The next step is to start saying these things out loud. So if you write, I am so grateful that my kids were cleaning the kitchen without me asking tonight, go in and tell them. Say, thank you for cleaning the kitchen without me even asking you. Thank you to your husband. Thank you for working in the yard. Thank you, boss, for helping me learn something new today. During this process, you will start to learn more about them. Now, If you're not sure how you're doing in this, you could ask your children right now, if you have children, say, how am I doing in this area? And if you really want to take it a step further, this is something that my mom did. My sister is sitting in the back row and she can attest this. When we were growing up, my mom said, you know what, I will pay you 25 cents for every time that I'm negative. So we were like, hooray, we're going to earn some money. So as soon as we caught her saying anything negative to us or anyone else, she would pay us a quarter. She probably learned really quick. So if you want to snub that, then pay your kids. See what happens. For every negative, how many positives do we need? Like 10 positives. So we have to make that a conscious effort to do that. Did you say 3 minutes? Okay. The last thing, so we'll go through this really quick one more time. The last thing we need to do is we need to act on that. And love is an action verb. I love that. If I were to ask anyone in this room if you could do 100 push-ups right now, could any of you do that? That would be pretty hard. But if you really were determined and you wanted to do 100 push-ups, where do you think you would start? With one, whatever you could. Whatever you could. Tomorrow or today, you would say, I'm going to start with whatever I can. And then what would you have to do in order to do 100 push-ups? You would have to practice every single day. And that's what we need to do in our relationships. We need to practice every single day giving love. Just to finish off, I would just like to read this, because I think it is in our perception that we see the world, and how we see the world, it becomes that for us in reality. Going back to the very first story that I read, I'm going to read this one more time, so you can close your eyes if you'd like to. I want you to picture your family dining table. Seated at the table are all the people that you love. Before the prayer, you look around and think how lucky you are to have them there. They're healthy and happy, and you feel blessed. Even though you're not the best cook in town, you've been proved since your early days of marriage, where you didn't even know what raw chicken looked like or how to cook a potato. Your husband beams at you as you honor him with cutting the turkey, the cooked part. And you remember how much you love him, not because he's perfect, but because God's love is perfect, and he's asked us to love. You look across the table, your kids smile and talk. Your son even uses his manners as he asks for the carrots. And your youngest daughter does not spill the juice, although your oldest daughter does as she raises her glass to a toast. Those napkins come in handy. After the meal, your daughter texts you that you are her BME, best mom ever. Your youngest daughter takes a nap from throwing a fit and wakes up a new person. And even though you realize you've eaten too much, you also realize that with the cleanup ahead that you're going to burn at least 1,000 calories, so that's okay. Against the wall in the other room is a beautiful Christmas tree. It is layered in foam Christmas balls you made in Relief Society candy cane hearts your kindergartner brought home, and 3 glass orbs you got on your wedding day, now 2. And a small manger with Jesus, Mary, and Joseph that Jesus half glued in from your children trying to hold him. You remember that the presents under the tree are important, but the ones that are most important are the ones that you have with your children. You remind them about the year that you bought a coat for someone in need and you dropped it off at their door. You also remind them of the year that you left a $100 bill in a cereal box, or the year that you didn't have much at all. A fire is soon started, and you start to sing Christmas carols, except for the teenagers, and you remembered when you were 15, and you did the very same thing. But how inside your family and your parents, even through those embarrassing moments, you knew that they always loved you. Later, you bathe the kids and get them dressed, and while combing their hair, you realize how blessed you are to be a mother. Gathering your family during the commercial of the football game, you say a prayer, but just before you start, you see each child and remember how many times they have all said prayers together. You tuck your kids into bed with a hug and a kiss and a warning that if they get out of bed, you'll be back with a ping pong paddle, but 10 minutes later, you sneak back in to see your children, their angel faces reminding you of everything good in life. You clean the dishes, and soon you're in bed. And when the baby wakes up, you realize that one day she will be too old to sit on your lap. And when that day comes, you'll look back on your life and realize the most important thing that you ever did for her was love her. I hope that we all can do that we can love. Love is truly an action verb. And thank you for letting me be here today. Thank you.
Listen to the night, listen to the baby sleeping underneath the sky.